baby bull. The newest Contender Champion, Troy Ross, will join us live in the studio, and we'll take a look at the top Canadians of the last quarter century. Who was that skinny, handsome man? You're watching In This Corner. Hi, everybody, and welcome to In This Corner. I'm Darren Dutchyshen, along with the coach, Russ Anber. We are glad that you tuned in.
I had no gray hair there.
Listen, man, you look thin there. You look good. You look healthy.
Indeed. Look at this nice new set and everything.
You look skinny.
Yes, thank you.
They say that the camera adds 10 pounds. Well, it looks like we got about 15 cameras in here for you. We do have a brand new set. We're glad that you tuned in. Things were well in Edmonton.
Things are great. I want to thank everybody out there in Edmonton who took care of us, Dutchy. It was wonderful. We had a great time. Love to come back again. Thank you very much, Alberta. You did a great job.
Okay, let's get at it, because we got Troy Ross. We're going to talk to him in just a moment or two. Let's start with your boy, Juan Manuel Marquez. This is a guy who comes from a fight family. His father was a boxer. His brother Rafael is a former two-time champion himself. And when Juan Manuel steps into the ring, you better be ready to go to war. Well, this past weekend, he climbed in with Juan Baby Bull Diaz, and they're calling it a Fight of the Year candidate.
Absolutely.
This was a tough bout. You got Marquez, all that experience, 49, 4-1, 36 KOs. Juan Diaz, 34-1, 17 KOs.
And Diaz does what is expected of him right from the opening bell, round one action. He backs the veteran into the ropes and stays on him, Dutchy. Hard body shots and left hooks, and you'll see it here. Watch this. This one staggers Marquez. Marquez is hurt, but look at the Warrior fight back, throwing shots, but Diaz stays right on him. And for the first 3 rounds, Dutchy, it was all the baby bull. But here, in round 5, as the fight starts to progress, the sharp-shooting punches of Marquez start to make a difference. Round 7 action, the good hard jab, and that left uppercut underneath keeps finding the mark, Dutchy, and it starts slowing Diaz down. Here, 8th round action, Marquez still staying behind the jab and looking for that uppercut underneath, and he'll find it. Waiting. There it is, a little left hook. That one shakes Diaz a little bit, and the uppercuts right away. That one hurts him right here at the end of the round. Diaz would survive this round, but he's banged up, bad cut, and they did an awful job in the corner, Dutchy.
Yeah, both guys were cut. Both guys were bleeding. Both guys would climb back in for the 9th round, but this was it for the baby bull.
Watch it here. Hard right hand over the top. Again, the left uppercut underneath. Diaz is hurt, and this was the first knockdown to the canvas. He gets up, but Dutchy, watch the champion. Watch Marquez, the way he digs to the body, that left hook sets it up, and then the uppercut. There it is. This one's over.
So what a fight. Marquez becomes the WBA, WBO, and IBO lightweight champion with a 9th round KO. So he grabs all those belts vacated by Nate Campbell, too, who could not make weight. He was the only guy who had beat Juan Diaz until Juan Manuel stepped into the ring. What a fighter this guy is.
Marquez is, you know what, if you can't consider Juan Manuel Marquez in the top 2 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, then let's get rid of this pound-for-pound stuff, because this guy is pure gold. I mean, to withstand what he took from Juan Diaz in the early part of the fight, to come back with the precision that he showed, the power that he showed, just too much for Diaz. He's absolutely outstanding.
You love him. You love him.
I can't get enough.
From a purist point of view, just the way he sets up, the way he throws punches, he's so clinical. He's got such a good chin. And you know, he's
body, head, warrior. He's a throwback fighter. Just wonderful. And, you know, even in the rounds that Diaz was winning, you could see the precision punching of Marquez making the difference.
Like I said, Fight of the Year candidate, and hopefully down the road he wants a shot at Pretty Boy Floyd. We'll see. He's not even talking about Manny anymore. Now, in his 10th defense of his WBA featherweight title in his first fight in the U.S., unbeaten world featherweight champion Chris John, who Juan Manuel fought. He went to the Philippines to fight this guy, ended up losing in what they said was not a just decision. Took on Rocky Juarez. Juarez 28-4, 20 KOs. John, record of 42-0-1 with 22 KOs.
Is there a harder luck fighter in boxing than Rocky Juarez as he tries right to the very end? Chris John pretty much out-hustled him most of the fight, but coming into the last round, it was Rocky Juarez who was putting the pressure. This is 11th round action. Juarez trying to get into this fight, and he does with 2 great rounds in the last two rounds of the fight to eke out a draw, Dutchy.
Right. Juarez wins the 12th round on all 3 cards. Each scored 114, 114. John, though, retains his belt with a hard-fought draw. You asked, is there a fighter in the world who has worse luck than Rocky Juarez? Well, yeah, I think we do. Glenn Johnson. 48-12-2 with 33 KOs, taking on Daniel Judah, and it is over.
And look at this hard right hand over the top. Boom! And you know what? You just can't mess around with Johnson. I mean, this guy's a tough guy and keeps himself in line for a title shot with a unanimous decision win.
Right. This was a rematch of their controversial draw in 2003. No controversy there. Glencoe takes care of business. IBF middleweight eliminator Giovanni Lorenzo, 26-1, 18 KOs, taking on Dionisio Miranda, 19-2-2.
There it is.
Trade rights?
Lorenzo's the guy that fought Brian Mackey a few years ago, and boy, I'll tell you what, that right hand landed hard, and that was it for Miranda. You trade rights? Here he goes. Look at this shot. Right over the top. Good right hand. Boom! Right on the point of the chin. This one's over. A huge win for Lorenzo.
Yeah, he is now the mandatory challenger for IBF middleweight champion Arthur Abraham. You better be careful with him. IBF cruiserweight world champion Tomaz Adamek, 36-1, 24 KOs, taking on the unbeaten Johnathan Banks, who is 20-0 with 14 knockouts.
And look at the size difference as well. But it didn't really matter because the precision punching of Adamek is what makes the difference. Hard right hand over the top. Just too much skill, too much power. Oh, look at those shots. This one's over. Adamek retains his title.
Yeah, an impressive 8th-round KO for him. We're just getting warmed up. Still to come. We're going to sit down with Season 4 Contender Champion Troy Ross. He will join us in the studio. You're watching In This Corner. Welcome back, Pound for Pound King. Manny Pacquiao has informed the WBC that he is relinquishing their version of the lightweight title. In a letter to the president, Pacquiao said he's given up the belt in order to fight Ricky Hatton for the junior welterweight title on May the 2nd. Pacquiao and Hatton, by the way, Rusty, are in England promoting the fight. Hatton beat the Pac-Man in a game of darts. I like him in a drinking contest as well. So I like Manny in the ring.
IBF middleweight champion Arthur Abraham is willing to defend his IBF title against WBC WO middleweight champion Kelly Pavlik. Dutchy, just 2 weeks shy of his next bout against Lawan Simon on March 14th. Abraham stated that he would fight Pavlik anywhere in the world just to prove he is the best in the division. You think he brings his brother with him, too?
The World Boxing Association Championship Committee has declared the two-time WBA heavyweight champion John the Quiet Man Ruiz as its mandatory challenger. Ruiz would be in line to fight the winner of this year's Ruslan Chagayev-Nikolai Valuev WBA title fight. Ruiz has already previously been beaten by both those guys.
That's the state of the heavyweight division. Unbeaten former IBF lightweight champion Paul Spadafora will headline a March 31st card in Pittsburgh against a fighter yet to be named. The 33-year-old Spadafora fought just once in each of the last 3 years after his career was derailed by a prison stint. Prison will do that to you.
WBO light flyweight champion Ivan Iron Boy Calderon, set to have his first bout of 2009. He's going to meet WBA interim champion Cesar Canchila of Colombia, Mexican the 23rd, or that's going to take place May the 23rd in Puerto Rico.
And Dutchy, the fight card for Rumble at Rama 7 on March 20th was announced last Thursday. The co-main event includes the first title defense of unbeaten Canadian heavyweight champion Greg Kielsa, who puts his title on the line against Arthur Cook.
He's a shorter guy, the big one, big belly, and I'm gonna look for the punches and the belly, exactly.
He wasn't talking about you, was he? Also on hand will be the Canadian kid Steve Molitor with a major announcement on his future.
Molitor will be back, and we will have a major announcement regarding Steve Molitor in the ring on the night of March 20th at Rumble at Rama 7.
Well, so with Canadian fighters, you know, it was born out of that reality craze. 4 years ago, they started the Contender Series. Yep. Well, this past season, they decided, you know what, let's move up in weight. Let's go to cruiserweight. And wouldn't you know it, Troy Ross, a former two-time Olympian for this country, decided he was going to throw his hat in the ring. Wouldn't you know it, this past weekend, he ended up in the final of the Contender Series. And Ross, pretty accomplished boxer, 17-1 as a professional, hasn't been that active, 12 KOs, taking on Tino Ekamenor.
And Ekamenor came out there, and they knew that he was going to be slick early in the first, second, third round. And Ross was expecting that from him. But you know what? Ekamenor felt the power of Troy Ross' shots early in the fight and realized this was going to be dangerous if he gets hit with any of these. And you know what? As the fight wore on, and here we are as we get into it in round 3, Troy staying right with him, and Ekamenor not liking any of this, realizing that this could be dangerous. You see how slick he is, trying to get away from those shots. Watch this here, though, in round 4. Ross lands a straight left hand. He's got Ekamenor hurt. Ekamenor again, look, another shot, and look at Ekamenor turn into the ropes and grab the ropes. This one's over as Smoker jumps in, and Ross is the new Contender Champion.
And joining us now in the studio is the Contender Champion Troy Ross, and we appreciate you coming in. The last time you were here, we ended up talking about the Cinderella Man. You did some work on that movie, and this, you talk about your Hollywood endings. This had a pretty good ending as well.
Oh, definitely. Thank you, Darren. It's great. I'm just happy to be here with you guys and be able to win the contender belt.
Yeah, congratulations on that. Now, some people said that there was perhaps a quick stoppage in that fight. We saw the highlights. The guy looked hurt. He grabbed onto the ropes. What were your thoughts?
I thought the referee, Steve Smoger, did a great job because if he actually had let the fight go a little bit more, Hino was not throwing back anything. So it was only in his power that he had to step in and stop that fight.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about that. Troy, for people who have watched this, they've seen, you know, go from week to week, you're fighting different guys. Boom, next thing you know, you're in the final. But obviously it took a lot more time than that. Can you give the people a little insight, which they don't know, of everything that went involved from day one of the contender to getting you into the final and becoming champion?
Well, pretty much the contender, they called my promoters in Montreal, Gym Promotion. And we did a long sign. We had a big contract that we had to sign, fill it all out. And then we were off to LA, where we had to do a psych test and to go through a few other tests to make sure that we qualified to go to Singapore. Okay. So when we got to Singapore now, it was all about we stayed in a hotel for a little bit, and then we got put into the house. We got there on the 10th of September, and we moved into the house on the 17th. The first fight was on the 19th.
2 days later.
2 days later, exactly. And my first fight actually happened on the 29th. And then right after that, I challenged Felix Cora Jr., and 4 days after that, I fought again.
Good for you. Tony Danza was involved. Did you ever say to, hey, Tony, you know who the boss is? This left and this right. You didn't give him any of that in the house or any of that stuff?
We had a lot of fun together.
Hey, but didn't you think, though, when you took a look at the other people that were competing, did you not look at their records and say, you know what, I think I'm the best guy out of this collective group?
Oh, definitely, definitely. We had a chance when we're in L.A. to look over all the guys that was actually going to be on the contender. So definitely the last person that I actually checked up on my BlackBerry was Hino. And it was just a coincidence that we were in the finals together.
Now, the contender has proved to be a springboard for all the stars that have gone on to win it. What do you expect will change with your career now, Troy? Where do you go from here?
With the contender, I think instead of being inactive, I'm going to be very active with the contender, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm expecting. I had a busy year last year because I fought 3 fights in a span of a month. Okay. So I'm expecting to be pretty busy this year.
Yeah, they've had one champion before, Sergio Mora, who's gone on and won a belt, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. Quickly, though, time frame, will you be back in the ring in about 3 months, 4 months, 5? What do you hope?
I'm hoping that it'll be about 3 months.
Okay. Well,
I'm hoping that it'll be about 3 months so I can, you know, I feel good, I feel confident right now, and I'm ready to step back in the ring as soon as possible. Perfect.
We'll have your highlights. Thank you very much for coming in, and congratulations. We appreciate it again.
Thanks
Troy Ross, former 2-time Olympian, now the Contender Champion. All right, coming up, they are the best our country has to offer over the last 25 years. It's the top Canadians in our outstanding 8. You're watching In This Corner. Welcome back to the show. You know what? One of my favorite guests of all time, I know the set's pretty sweet, was George Chavallo when he was kind enough to join us and spend some time with us. Now, please don't send us emails or call us and say, how come Chavallo's not in your outstanding 8? It's the outstanding 8 fighters from the last 25 years. We're dealing with Canadians, last quarter of a century. Let's get it going.
Dale Brown, a solid cruiserweight contender through the 1990s. Brown would fight for the world title, Dutchy, on 3 occasions. Sadly, he is denied the world title in one of the worst decisions in boxing against O'Neal Bell.
Number 7.
Trevor Berbick, after knocking out Big John Tate on the Leonard Duran undercard, Berbick would meet Larry Holmes for the heavyweight title. Berbick becomes the first man to go the 15-round distance with Holmes. Berbick would eventually win the world title with a unanimous decision win over Pinkman Thomas.
Number 6.
Eric Lucas turning pro with little fanfare and perhaps less expectation. Lucas persevered with a strong work ethic to knock out Glenn Catley. Lucas would make 3 title defenses before losing the crown to Marcus Beyer in a horrific decision.
Number 5.
Otis Grant, robbed of the middleweight title in Las Vegas against Lonnie Bradley. Grant traveled to England to meet hometown hero Ryan Rhodes. After 12 strong rounds, Grant would become champion of the world, becoming the first Canadian-based fighter to win a title since Matthew Hilton.
Number 4.
Donnie Lalone, Canada's golden boy. Lalone won the world title with a spectacular second-round KO of Eddie Davis. A powerful puncher with the right hand. Lalone would defend the title once against Leslie Stewart before losing it to Ray Leonard.
Number 3.
Matthew and Davey Hilton Jr., simply put, the greatest puncher and the most gifted fighter this country has ever produced. Matthew would win the world title with an exciting 15-round decision over Buster Drayton. Dave would become world champion, beating Zing and Tabella for the super middleweight crown.
Number 2.
Arturo Gatti, this era's version of the blood and guts warrior. Gatti would garnish world titles in 2 weight classes. Recipient of numerous Fight of the Year honors, Gatti has been immortalized in boxing history with his 3 epic battles against Mickey Ward.
And number 1.
Lennox Lewis, no surprise here, Olympic gold medalist, 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. Lewis was the most dominant heavyweight of his era, a dedicated, hard-punching champion. Lewis would clearly avenge the only 2 losses of his career.
Russ Anber's Outstanding 8 is brought to you by the fresh, great taste of Arby's. One bite will have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's.
Well, time now for Soapbox. And Rusty, you were in Edmonton this past weekend. What did you see at the Nationals from your Soapbox?
On my first visit to Edmonton some 21 years ago, I had the opportunity to not only visit a beautiful, vibrant city, but to witness the makings of perhaps the greatest amateur boxing team this country has ever produced. From coast to coast, the quality of the fighters during that year set a standard which has yet to be surpassed. Ray Downey, an outstanding southpaw who surprised everyone with a bronze in Seoul later that year. Howard and Otis Grant, Egerton Marcus, and of course the most famous of that team was Marcus's teammate, Lennox Lewis, who thrilled us all with his gold medal performance in Seoul. Add to that the names of Asif Dar, Manny Sobral, the Bulldog, Scotty Olsen, Slam Bam Jamie Pagandam, Coco Kozlowski, and of course Tom Glesby. Simply put, the greatest compilation of boxing talent this country has ever seen. One key component in the success of this team was the fact that stars like Grant, Dar, Pagandam, and of course Lewis, among others, garnished success at the junior level, both nationally and internationally, before becoming Olympians. This past weekend, with the help of some amazing volunteers, Roland LeBay, Cindy Swanson, and the entire Boxing Alberta team hosted another highly successful Canadian Junior Championship and final team selection for our national team, which will represent us this year in Milan at the World Championships. Amid the elegance of the banquet hall at the West Edmonton Mall, 2 young stars who, like Lewis and company before them, enjoyed their share of success at the junior level. 2 young stars who have matured and readied themselves for the international stage. Light heavyweight Stephen Frangic from Orangeville, Ontario, proved what many had known for a long time, that he's a talented, hard-working fighter with an old-school body attack. A product of Brian Mackey's big-time boxing club, Frangic has the size and skill to carry him on the world stage. Joining Frangic on the team is Mikhail Zuski. While Zuski has long been a highly regarded prospect, he truly emerged as the most outstanding boxer of the tournament. With 2 great wins, Zuski defeated Canada's Olympic representative, Adam Trupish, in the semis, and then beat defending Canadian champion, Nathan Kulcheski. While this itself is truly impressive, the fact that Zuski gave up only 3 scoring points in 6 rounds of boxing against the best that this country has to offer is simply brilliant. With defense like that, a great offense is sure to follow. Dutch!
Thanks, Rusty. Coming up next, it is your final flurry. Russ will answer your questions when we return.
In this corner on TSN is brought to you by the fresh, great taste of Arby's. One bite will have you saying, I'm thinking Arby's.
Late one summer, Mary Collingwood left her parents' lake house to meet a friend in town. 6 hours later, she was left for dead.
Now what? I saw a house back there.
On March 13.
Mary!
Can you tell us who did this to you?
They're here.
From Rogue Pictures.
Is he ready to do anything?
The Last House on the Left. In theaters March 13.
In times like these, we want to give you something you can absolutely count on. The Lens Crafters 30-day unconditional guarantee. If you don't love your new pair, we'll help you find another that's right for you. No need for excuses, no need to explain. And now with glasses starting at $99.95, there should be something here that makes everybody happy. The 30-day unconditional guarantee at Lens Crafters.
You know, it's never too early to have a heart attack. Especially when it's the Arby's $5 roast beef roundup. For a limited time, mix and match 2 delicious sandwiches with slow-roasted, thinly sliced, seasoned roast beef for just $5. The classic regular roast beef sandwich, savory Philly and processed Swiss, and barbecue bacon melt. You're never too young for a heart attack, so bring them up right. Hurry to Arby's for the $5 roast beef roundup. I'm thinking Arby's. In this corner's final flurry is brought to you in part by the rugged 2009 Dodge Ram. Never back down.
All right, time now for Final Flurry.
Hello, Edmonton.
There's the bell. Let's get at it. Here's the first question. It comes from Bruce. What do you think of Bernard Hopkins saying that he wants a piece of Tomaz Adamek?
Can you imagine what kind of a history-making event that would be? I mean, that would be great. Imagine the interest, somebody like Bernard Hopkins, at his age, taking on your guy, Tomaz Adamek. We would have a good situation going here if that fight happened.
And who do you think would win that fight?
I never pick against Bernard.
No, that's true.
Ever.
Although that would be Sparks. That would be all right.
Yes, it would.
Next question comes from Bill. He wants to know, there's a card coming up in Montreal. What do you know about it?
Yeah, well, the card this weekend. You know what? Sebastian Demers fights tough guys. He's in the main event this weekend taking on Jose Luis Zartucci. Zartucci, if you remember, fought Kelly Pavlik. Good fighter. I mean, you know, Demers is a fringe guy. A good win over Zartucci, bang, he's right back in the title picture, maybe gets a shot at a title. You never know.
Okay, this next...
And David's fighting on the card as well, so I'll be working this weekend.
This next question comes from Tim in Kingston. He wants to know, what do you think of the James Kirkland Joel Julio fight?
Oh, what a great matchup that's going to be. Two guys who... I'll make a prediction here. I'm not going to say who's going to win, even though I like Joel Julio. I love Joel Julio. But I'll tell you this. I cannot see in any way, shape, or form this fight going the distance. I can't see it going the distance. There's going to be a knockout in this fight. I like Joel Julio, but Kirkland can really throw.
So that is your prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to go with it. I like Julio, but Kirkland, boy, he can throw. I'll give him that.
Okay, from David in Vancouver, he goes, I don't mean it to beat it to death regarding Margarito's loaded hand wraps. He wants to know, why don't they just inspect all the fighters' hands after the fight?
You know what? That's not actually a bad idea, and that makes some perfect sense. Now, the theory behind it is because they're supposed to be signed off before the fight. Okay, let's say that they are. I'm sure a ton of Margarito's hands have been signed off before the fight, but no one has ever inspected them afterwards. But my theory is this. I think that this should be done afterwards, and I also think that the gloving should go on in the ring. The way they used to do it in the old days, it's part of the ceremony. You come into the ring with your hands, the referee comes in. He's the final person to inspect the hands before the gloves goes on, regardless of what's signed off, because you never know if the commissioner missed something, if the inspector missed something in the room. Commissioner checks the referee checks that, then you put the gloves on in the ring, tie them up, and away you go.
Why did they get away from that?
Because television time, right? They got away from it because you had to be on time, so they didn't want the time of sitting down and going through the ritual of putting the gloves on. But that used to be one of the exciting moments for me.
Okay, this one comes from Jordan Yurchuk in Edmonton, which you mentioned. What's going to happen with Adam Trupish?
Well, you know what? Adam had a bad weekend this past weekend, and now I think he has to look at his career and see what he wants to do. He was hoping to be on the national team going into Milan in August, was defeated, and so I think he needs to step back. You know, it's tough going to 2 Olympic Games and then having to come back and regain your position on the national team. So I think I think he's going to have to sit back and reflect on some time, Dutchie.
Well, we'd like to thank our 2-time Olympian, Troy Ross, for coming in. There's the bell. That's going to do it from all of us here. Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for In This Corner. Thanks.